The first time I brought my girlfriend, Claire, home to meet my family, I should have known I was walking her into a landmine field disguised as a dining room. Claire wasn't the problem. Claire never is. She's the kind of woman who could charm her way into a locked vault with nothing but a smile and a good cardigan. She's warm, smart, and just the right amount of sarcastic to survive meeting my family. The problem was my family. See, I've always been what you'd call the other one. Not the golden child. Not the gifted one. Just the kid who figured things out on his own. My parents loved to say things like, "We raised our kids equally." Which is hilarious considering my sister got a new car at 18 and I got a used laptop with a missing shift key. Growing up, Madison was the family's walking trophy shelf. Piano lessons, dance recitals, summer camps, a sweet 16 party with a literal horse-drawn carriage. Me? I got a half-burnt chocolate chip cookie and a lecture about building character. Still, I survived. Got a job after high school, saved what I could, and eventually met Claire at work. She was the first person who looked at me like I was more than background noise. Which is probably why I decided to bring her home, because part of me wanted to believe things had changed. Spoiler, they hadn't. The moment we walked in, my mom did that tight-lipped smile that says, "I wasn't expecting company, but I'll fake it for appearances." She complimented Claire's dress like it was a clearance rack find, then immediately asked if she wanted sparkling water. Not me, just her. My dad barely looked up from his tablet. "Jake," he grunted. No hug. No handshake. Just a nod like I was the mailman dropping off spam. Madison, of course, made an entrance. Flowing hair, expensive perfume, fake modesty. She practically floated in, arms outstretched like she was about to accept an award for existing better than everyone else. "Oh my gosh, Jakey!" she squealed. "You didn't tell me she was gorgeous." Claire smiled politely. I gritted my teeth. Dinner was awkward in the way only my family could make it. My mom served some fancy salmon dish with microgreens I couldn't pronounce. Claire tried to ask my dad about his golf hobby. He said he gave it up for more mature pursuits, which is code for watching YouTube videos about crypto and doing absolutely nothing. Madison spent most of the meal talking about her upcoming trip to Cabo. Apparently, she was manifesting an upgrade to first class because she bought a new mood board. No one questioned it. My mom nodded like Madison had just recited a Bible verse. I tried to stay quiet. Just sip my water. Count the minutes until we could escape without Claire seeing the full circus. Then Grandpa walked in. Now Grandpa is built different. Old school. No filters. He's like if Clint Eastwood and Judge Judy merged into one grumpy, sharp-eyed machine. He doesn't do fake. He doesn't do favoritism. And most importantly, he doesn't miss details. He walked in with his cane, nodded at everyone, and then locked eyes with Claire. "Well now," he said, voice rough like sandpaper but warm. "Who's this pretty thing?" "This is Claire," I said, standing up slightly. "My girlfriend." He smiled wide. "Well, hot damn, Jake. Good on ya." Claire laughed, already charmed. Then he turned to me with a grin that made my stomach twist. "Hey! Show her the car I got you," he said proudly. "That thing's still running smooth?" I froze. Fork halfway to my mouth. My heart did a weird drop, like I missed a stair in my own house. Claire tilted her head. "Wait, he got you a car?" I laughed. Bitterly. Not the good kind. The kind you let out when you're too tired to scream. "I never got a car." The silence was immediate. Brutal. Grandpa's smile faded. "What?" I cleared my throat. "I mean, I remember you talking about something like that. But no, I never got anything." He frowned. Slowly. The lines in his face deepening as the pieces didn't quite fit. "I gave the money for it to your parents," he said, not angrily, not yet. Just puzzled. "I remember doing it. Told your dad it was for you." The room went still. Not one breath. Not one utensil moved. Grandpa looked at my mom. Then at my dad. Then at me again. And with a quiet, furrowed brow, he simply muttered, "Huh. That's strange." Grandpa leaned back slightly in his chair, his cane resting against the table as he stared at my parents like he just walked into a room full of strangers. "I gave $5,000 to your father," he said again, slower this time, like the sentence was tasting different the second time around. "Told him it was for your first car. Told him not to tell you so it could be a surprise." Claire glanced at me, then at my parents. My mom was the first to break. "Oh, Dad, I'm sure it's just a mix-up." "A mix-up?" Grandpa cut her off, eyes narrowing. "You think I'm some confused old man with spare change falling out of my brain? I wrote the check. In this very kitchen. Your husband said he knew a dealership. Said he'd handle it." My dad stayed silent. Which, in our family, was the universal sign of guilt. Grandpa turned back to me, and this time, his voice was gentler. "You never saw a car? Not even a hint?" I shook my head slowly. "I thought maybe you'd forgotten. Or that it was one of those things people say and then life gets in the way." Grandpa's jaw flexed. "I'm old, not senile." At that point, Madison spoke up, and if you know anything about her, you know she always thinks she's helping. "Oh my God!" she laughed, waving her hand like we were being dramatic. "This is so overblown. That was, what, like 2 years ago? Why does it matter?" Grandpa's eyes darted to her. "You knew about it?" Madison froze mid-sip of her wine. Well, I remember Dad saying something about a dealership visit, but I didn't know the money was for Jake." There was a pause. Long, cold. Unforgiving. Then Grandpa sat forward, placed both palms on the table, and with absolute calm, he asked, "So, who stole it?" The words dropped like a grenade in the middle of the salmon. Claire blinked. I held my breath. My mom laughed, this weird, forced sound that felt like it belonged in a hostage video. "Dad, no one stole anything. That's a strong word." Grandpa didn't blink. "You're right. So let's find a better one. Where's the money?" Still no answer. "Did you give it to Jake?" "No." "Did you use it for a car for Jake?" Still no. "Did Jake ever see a dime of it?" I could feel the air tightening. The walls felt closer. I didn't know whether to stand, run, or just let the awkwardness kill me where I sat. Claire slid her hand into mine under the table. Just one squeeze. That's all it took to stop me from walking out right then and there. Finally, my dad spoke. "It was a confusing time," he said, like he was delivering a eulogy instead of explaining why $5,000 vanished into thin air. "Madison had just totaled her old car, and we were dealing with repairs and—" "Hold on." Grandpa's voice sharpened like a knife. "You used Jake's money, for Madison?" Madison blinked, like she was just now catching up. "Wait, that money?" Grandpa looked like he was about to throw his water glass, and honestly, same. My dad cleared his throat. "We thought it was all coming from the same place. A family gift. There were names attached. It was all implied." Grandpa stared at him. Then at me. Then at Claire. "Jake," he said slowly, "when your sister got that new car, what were you driving?" My cheeks burned. I didn't want to answer. But I did. I was taking the bus to my night shift. Another silence. Only this time, even the sound of breathing felt too loud. Madison opened her mouth like she was about to say something, then wisely shut it. Grandpa finally leaned back in his chair, shaking his head like someone who just realized the foundation of his house had been built on sand. "Well," he muttered, "isn't this a hell of a family dinner?" You know that feeling when someone opens a window during a snowstorm and suddenly the entire house goes quiet? That's what it felt like after Grandpa muttered, "Isn't this a hell of a family dinner?" No one said a word. Even Madison, queen of dramatic exits, just stared at her salmon like she could somehow uneat it and rewind the last 10 minutes. Claire rubbed her thumb gently against my hand under the table. I didn't realize how tense I was until then. My whole arm felt like a twisted-up phone cord. Grandpa leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, looking at each of us like a judge surveying a very guilty courtroom. "So," he said finally. Let me see if I've got this straight. I gave money to your father for Jake. He didn't get it. And now Madison is driving a car that showed up 2 weeks later. My mom tried again, her voice doing that overly sweet thing it does when she's nervous. Dad, Madison needed a car. She was commuting to college. Jake was working nights. He didn't even need one as urgently. Grandpa raised a brow. Didn't need one? Are you hearing yourself? My dad sighed, pinching the bridge of his nose like he was the one being inconvenienced. It was a decision we made as parents. A judgment call. Jake was doing fine. He's always been resourceful. That word. Resourceful. They'd used it my entire life like it was a compliment, but it always tasted like a cop-out. Like saying, he survives roaches well, so let's keep him in the basement. Claire let go of my hand and spoke, gently but clearly. Jake was taking 2 buses to work. One of them didn't run on Sundays. He used to get off early to walk the rest of the way just to be on time. My mom frowned, like Claire had just said something in another language. Well, that's called initiative, she said brightly. We raised him to be strong. Grandpa actually scoffed. You raised him like a backup generator and wonder why the lights flicker. That earned a snort from Claire, which she tried to hide with a sip of water. Madison finally broke her silence. Okay, yes. I got the car. But I didn't steal anything. I didn't know it was supposed to be Jake's money. I was told you wanted me to be safe after my accident. Grandpa squinted at her. I did. That's why I paid for your driving school. Twice. And if I remember correctly, I also sent you money for new tires 3 months prior. Madison's mouth opened, then closed. I'd never seen her speechless before. I almost took a picture. Grandpa looked back at me. You should have told me. And that's when it hit me, all the years I thought I had to just accept things. That I wasn't allowed to speak up. That doing so made me weak or ungrateful. When really, I was just trained to take scraps and say thank you. I figured you didn't remember, I said quietly. Or that maybe something happened. I stopped hoping a long time ago. That last sentence landed harder than I meant it to. Grandpa's face dropped for a second. I could see it, guilt. Real, raw old man guilt. The kind that doesn't come with words. Just silence and the clench of a jaw that's held back too much. He looked at Claire. You with him long? She smiled gently. 2 years. And he still shows up to work early. Makes his own lunch. Wears boots with actual holes in them. He looked back at me. That's not resourceful. That's someone making it work because no one ever bothered to. I didn't say anything. Didn't have to. Finally, Grandpa stood up slowly. You know what? I don't have the appetite for this anymore. Dad, my mom said, standing too. Come on, it's dinner. He grabbed his cane. Don't. Not tonight. And with that, he looked at me, nodded once, and walked out. Just like that. Claire exhaled hard. Madison reached for the wine again. My dad muttered something about always making a scene. But me? I just sat there. My fork was untouched. My stomach is empty. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't sure if I ever wanted to come back. We left not long after Grandpa did. Claire offered to stay, to help clean up or smooth things over. But I was already grabbing her coat before she finished the sentence. I didn't even say goodbye. Neither did my parents. Madison gave me a stiff half-wave like she was dismissing a waiter. The walk to the car was silent at first. Autumn air, crisp and sharp. My breath came out in clouds, but my mind felt foggy in all the wrong ways. Claire broke the silence gently. You okay? I nodded. Convincing. I exhaled. I didn't want him to find out like that. Why? She asked, unlocking the door. Because you were trying to protect him, or because you've spent so long convincing yourself it didn't matter? I didn't answer. Not because I didn't have one, but because she nailed it. We sat in the car for a while, engine off. No music. Just that kind of stillness that only really happens after a blow-up that wasn't supposed to happen. I looked down at my hands, callous from years of warehouse work. No degree, no family support, no backup plan, just grit, sore knuckles, and someone who somehow still loved me through it. I should have spoken up sooner, I said quietly. Claire shook her head. You shouldn't have had to. And somehow, that hit even harder. The next day, I got a text from Grandpa. Swing by tomorrow. I want to show you something. That was it. No emoji. No details. Classic Grandpa. I didn't know what to expect. Maybe a dusty checkbook. Maybe an apology. Maybe just a rant about the downfall of society and his refusal to use online banking. But when I arrived at his place, what I found was more layered. He opened the door wearing his old fishing hat and that navy blue flannel he always pretends he just found lying around. His face was calm, but there was a flicker in his eyes, the same one I'd seen when he negotiated the price of a used snowblower down by half at a garage sale. He waved me in. You want coffee? I nodded. Sure. We sat at the kitchen table. He poured 2 cups. Black, no sugar. Just like always. And for a minute, he didn't say anything. Then he slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Inside was a printed email thread. Dates, names, account info. It was a full paper trail, from the day he gave my dad the money, to the account it landed in, to the exact dealership it was supposed to go to. But the car? It was never bought in my name. Instead, it was transferred directly to Madison. Got a buddy who used to work at the DMV, Grandpa said, sipping his coffee like he wasn't sitting on a bomb. Owes me a few favors. I asked him to dig. I swallowed. Why? Because I hate being lied to, he said, calm as ever. And I hate it even more when the one getting screwed is the only person in this family who's ever made something out of nothing. That one hit hard. Harder than anything said at dinner. I never asked you to do this. He looked at me. That's why I did it. I sat back in the chair, overwhelmed. Not just by the gesture, but by the fact that, for once, someone had actually chosen me. Had gone out of their way. Had said, "You matter." Not with words, but with action. Grandpa wasn't done. I also called your parents. Told them I want that money accounted for. Told them if it's not returned, I'll be speaking to a lawyer. I blinked. You're suing your own daughter? He snorted. Don't tempt me. I've been looking for an excuse to get out of Thanksgiving. I laughed. For the first time in 24 hours, it felt real. Then he slid over a second envelope. What's this? Open it. Inside was a key. And a photo. A dark green pickup truck, sturdy, simple, the kind that doesn't look like much until it outlives every vehicle in your neighborhood. She's parked outside, Grandpa said. Title's in your name. Bought it yesterday. And before you say anything, I'm not replacing what I already gave you. I'm just correcting what they took. I stared at the photo, then at him. I didn't even realize my eyes were burning until I blinked and felt them sting. I don't know what to say. He leaned back. Just promise me one thing. Yeah? Next time someone hands you scraps and calls it a feast, don't just take it. Flip the damn table. The next morning, I drove the truck to work. It wasn't flashy. No touchscreen dashboard. No fancy sound system. But it drove smooth, solid, like it had something to prove. And honestly, so did I. The moment I pulled into the warehouse lot, a few guys from my crew came over like moths to a warm engine. Yo, new wheels? Travis asked, eyes wide. Since when? I shrugged. Yesterday. Damn, he said, whistling. Looking good. You finally hit the lottery or what? Something like that, I said, smiling for the first time at that place in weeks. I didn't give details. Just said it was a gift. Let the rest be speculation. Feels nice when people assume the best for once. The rest of the day flew by. I wasn't checking the clock every 10 minutes. I wasn't gritting my teeth through passive-aggressive texts from my mom about why Grandpa's upset. I was just working, Not to prove anything to anyone, but because I actually liked the way it felt. After work, Claire met me in the parking lot. She took one look at the truck, grinned like a kid, and said, "God, this thing's got more personality than your dad's entire face." She climbed in, rolled down the window, and yelled, "Let's get tacos, truck boy!" For the first time in forever, I didn't feel like a background character in my own life. But of course, peace never lasts long when your family runs on entitlement and guilt. It started with Madison. That night, she sent me a message. No greeting. No emoji. Just, "So you finally got the truck. Congrats, I guess." I stared at it. Not, "I'm sorry." Not, "I didn't know." Just passive bitterness wrapped in a sarcastic bow. I didn't reply. 10 minutes later. "Kinda weird that Grandpa's buying you cars now. Didn't know we were doing the whole revenge son thing." Claire leaned over my shoulder and read the message. "Tell her you're not the revenge son. You're the corrected mistake son." I laughed, but still didn't answer. Silence was more powerful now than any comeback. Then came the call from my mom. "I just think this whole thing's gotten way out of hand," she started, without even a hello. "Your sister's upset. Your father's embarrassed. And now Dad's talking about lawyers? Is that really necessary?" I stayed quiet, letting her talk. "You got a truck. That's great. But dragging this out won't fix anything. We're still a family, Jake." That word, family. God, they love to weaponize it. I finally spoke. "Do you even hear yourself?" She went silent. For years I was told to suck it up. Work harder. Be resourceful. You gave Madison a car with money that was meant for me, then acted like I should be grateful she got it. And now that I finally have something, you're calling it drama? My mom sighed, the deep, heavy kind meant to make me feel guilty. Classic. Jake, we had limited resources. You always managed. Yeah. I did. Alone. The silence on the other end was the loudest thing she'd said all day. "I'm not asking for apologies," I said. "Just stop pretending this was ever fair." Then I hung up. A week passed. I kept showing up to work in the truck. Claire kept making fun of my dad vehicle and blasting throwback rock through the speakers. Grandpa called every other day just to check if I'd changed the oil yet. I hadn't. But I lied and said yes. Then something happened I didn't expect. My dad showed up at my apartment. Claire and I were eating takeout when the knock came. She peeked through the peephole and whispered, "It's your dad. Alone." My stomach dropped. I opened the door halfway. He didn't say anything for a second. Just looked at the truck parked in my spot. Then at me. "You got time?" I crossed my arms. "Depends." He looked tired. Not just physically. The kind of tired that comes from getting called out and having no good excuse to give back. "I didn't handle it right," he said finally. "The money. The car. A lot of things." I didn't answer. "I didn't think it mattered. You were always the one who figured things out." Madison, she needed help. I shook my head. No. She just expected it. He rubbed his jaw. "You're angry." I nodded. "I used to be. Now I'm just done." That hit him. Not like a slap. More like a door shutting. He nodded slowly. "Okay." Then he walked away. Didn't beg. Didn't argue. Just left. And weirdly, that hurt more than if he had yelled. But I didn't chase him. Because this time, I got to decide when the conversation ended. A few days passed. I didn't hear from my parents again, which honestly felt like a vacation. Claire and I slipped into our usual rhythm: work, dinner, sarcastic jokes, late-night sitcoms. It was calm, boring, and blissfully drama-free. Until Madison called. I let it ring. Then she texted. "You know, you could have just talked to us instead of getting Grandpa all riled up. You really love making yourself the victim, don't you?" I didn't reply. 5 minutes later. "And now he's freezing the college fund for my grad school. Are you happy?" Oh. There it was. I showed the message to Claire. She read it, then said with zero hesitation, "Yes. Tell her yes." Turns out Grandpa wasn't done just handing me a truck and calling it a day. He was digging deep, quietly reevaluating his family contributions. And apparently, Madison's master plan to coast through a fully paid master's degree just hit a financial iceberg named Gerald. I thought about replying. Something polite. Maybe something savage. But instead I called Grandpa. "Just got a text from Madison," I said when he answered. "She's not happy?" he asked, deadpan. "She said you froze her grad school fund." He didn't even flinch. "I paused it. I didn't cancel it. Yet." I raised an eyebrow. "That's bold." Grandpa sighed. "You know what bold is? Handing over $5,000 for your grandson, and then finding out your own kid lied about where it went." I didn't argue. "I'm not trying to punish her," he added. "But I'm also not paying another dime until people around here remember how trust works." Claire leaned over the couch and whispered, "Tell him I said he's my favorite now." "I did." He chuckled. "Well, she's got taste." After we hung up, I felt lighter. Not because Madison was suffering, but because for once, someone was holding people accountable. And it wasn't me having to scream into the void or write off another betrayal like it was character building. Later that night, while we were watching some rerun of Kitchen Nightmares, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Claire read over my shoulder as I opened it. "Hey, you probably don't remember me. I'm your cousin, Nate. Aunt Carol's kid. I just wanted to say, I heard about what happened. You're not the only one they pulled that stuff on. Glad someone finally stood up." I stared at the message for a long time. I barely remembered Nate. We'd only met a few times as kids at big reunions. But I remembered he always seemed quiet. Not shy, just like someone who'd already figured out family wasn't the safe place it was supposed to be. I texted back. "Thanks. I didn't expect that." He replied almost immediately. "You shouldn't have had to carry it alone. None of us should." Something shifted in my chest. Because here I was, years later, thinking this whole mess was just mine, like I was the one faulty cog in the machine. But it wasn't just me. It was a pattern. And apparently I'd become the first crack in a very well-polished illusion. The next day, I got another message. This time, from Aunt Carol. "Hi, Jake. I heard what happened with Grandpa. I just want you to know, I support you. And I'm sorry if you ever felt left out. You weren't. You were just quieter. We should have listened more." Claire saw it before I did. She held up the phone like it was a rare Pokémon card. "They're falling like dominoes." I grinned. The weird part was, I didn't feel vengeful. I didn't want to scream, "I told you so," or wave the truck keys in anyone's face. I just felt steady. Like maybe, for once, I'd stopped waiting for approval that was never coming, and started building my own peace instead. The next time I saw my parents, it wasn't on purpose. It was Grandma's birthday, the big 7-5, and Claire and I had already RSVP'd weeks before the incident. She loved Claire. Called her my second granddaughter. And honestly, she was one of the only people in the family who never treated me like a background prop. So I wasn't gonna ditch her just because the rest of the room would be radioactive. We arrived a little late, intentionally. Claire wore a forest green dress and brought her famous strawberry cake. I wore the one good shirt I owned that didn't scream, "I work in a warehouse." And we parked the truck right in front of the house like a shiny green middle finger. The second we walked in, the energy shifted. Madison was by the wine table, deep in conversation with a cousin who looked like she wanted to disappear into the dip tray. My parents were in the corner, talking to Aunt Carol and avoiding eye contact with me like it was tax season. Grandma lit up. "There's my boy," she said, arms open. Claire stepped aside and whispered, "Go get your hugs, cake boy." So I did. Everything was going fine until Madison cornered me near the kitchen sink while I was grabbing Claire a drink. She didn't even say hi. "So you're the hero now?" she said, arms crossed. I blinked. Excuse me? She scoffed. You've humiliated Mom and Dad. Got Grandpa to freeze my tuition. And now you're just walking around like the wrong prince of the family. I held up Claire's soda bottle and smiled. I'm just here for the cake. Madison stepped closer. You think any of this is going to last? Grandpa's old. When he's gone, who do you think Mom and Dad are leaving things to? That one hit me. Not because I wanted anything from them, but because she still thought I did. I don't care, I said. Calm. Solid. I'm not here for the money. Never was. She snorted. Yeah, okay. You're such a martyr. I smiled, and this time it wasn't forced. No. I'm just done pretending you're the only one who matters. Then I turned to leave, and almost ran into Grandpa, who had apparently witnessed the entire conversation from the hallway like a retired detective waiting to deliver a plot twist. You done? He asked Madison, not unkindly. Just done. She opened her mouth, and shut it again. He walked past her and clinked a spoon against his glass. I just want to say something before we cut the cake, he said to the room. This family has been riding on appearances for too long. We throw big parties, talk big game, but when it comes to showing up for each other, some of us haven't. You could hear a pin drop. I gave money meant for Jake, Grandpa continued, his voice steady, and it got rerouted. No apology. No accountability. But somehow, he's the one being treated like a problem. All eyes turned to me. I didn't shrink. I didn't speak. Just let him talk. Well, no more, Grandpa said. I've updated my will. Don't worry, you'll all get a copy. But Jake, he looked straight at me. Thank you for teaching me who actually shows up, even when no one's cheering. Madison's jaw visibly tightened. My dad cleared his throat. My mom blinked like someone had just thrown confetti in her soup. Claire squeezed my hand. And me? I didn't smile. I didn't smirk. I just nodded. Once. Because for the first time in a very long time, I didn't need the validation. I already had it. 3 months later, I got a letter in the mail. A real one. Envelope, stamp, return address in my mom's handwriting, which, in our family, was basically the equivalent of a flare gun over enemy territory. Claire held it like it might explode. Should I wear gloves? She asked. I laughed and opened it. Inside was a card that said, Thinking of you. The kind of thing you send to someone who just got dumped or survived a minor surgery. Inside was a short note. Jake. We hope you're doing okay. Your father and I want to talk. Maybe reset things. Also, Madison's grad tuition is due soon. Maybe we could all meet and figure things out as a family? Love. Mom. Asterisk. Claire read it, blinked twice, and said, So they want you to fix what they broke, so they can go back to pretending nothing happened? Pretty much. I folded the card and set it down without answering. That weekend, Grandpa came over to help me install shelves in the garage. We took turns pretending we knew what we were doing, made fun of each other's tool choices, and paused only when Claire brought out lemonade like we were 1950s sitcom characters. You get the letter? Grandpa asked while drilling into a wall stud. I did. Let me guess. Peace offering with a price tag. Something like that. He nodded, still drilling. Don't let it drag you back in, kid. They're not mad because you did something wrong. They're mad because you stopped letting it happen. I nodded. I'm not going back. You shouldn't. Later that night, I wrote my mom a reply. Short. Simple. I'm doing well. I hope you are too. I won't be covering Madison's tuition. Please don't contact me again unless it's without conditions. Jake. No anger. No revenge. Just closure. A week passed. Then 2. Then I got another letter, this one from Aunt Carol. Inside was a photo. It was me, Claire, Grandpa, and 2 cousins I hadn't seen since childhood, sitting on lawn chairs outside our place, smiling like we'd just won something. Which, in a way, we had. On the back, she'd written, This is what family looks like when you choose it. I framed it. Hung it up in the hallway, right near the front door. A reminder, not of what I lost, but what I stopped chasing. Because sometimes, the best revenge isn't slamming doors. It's building a life so solid, they can't even reach the handle.